Greetings, Star Wars fans. The following playlist, while by no means exhaustive, offers insight into the literary domain of impeccable Star Wars novels. The list is arranged in a chronological manner, beginning roughly 1,000 years before the events of Episode 4, A New Hope, then working upward toward 0 BBY. Every entry won't be for everyone, as most literary works tend to tell a specific story. There can be a moderate disconnect between what the authors are trying to convey, the characters they utilize to do so, and you as the reader. This is quite common with any fanfic fandom. Well, with that being said, most of the novels following hit on all cylinders, while a few only tread water with the casual fan. For me, I prefer a novel that isn't afraid to push boundaries, take large aggressive swings, or gamble on a reader's understanding of Star Wars in general. I want something that forces me to learn something new, look up a particular name or place on Wikipedia, or even take to YouTube to see if some of the lore masters have covered the subject. That's what this is all about, and why the EU is so deeply cherished, if not vital, to contiguous Star Wars lore, and more importantly, respect for the franchise. What you will not find on this list are books that dance around certain topics, take subtle approaches, or unwaveringly deviate from putting an established character in peril, or forced into a one sided juxtaposition within which they are never forced to choose an uncomfortable path. I am not a fan of books that take safe, easy routes to spin a tale, and you shouldn't be either. We read Star Wars books because we love the action, the intrigue, political machinations, and our favorite characters up against staggering odds. In almost all cases within Star Wars literature, an author won't shy away from delving into action packed stories that complement the overall narrative from ridiculously vast perspective, points of view through infinite lenses. This has been the case since the 1980s, but we've seen dramatic shifts of constraint as of late, stories that don't quite hit like they used to. Not once should any blame be placed on a specific author for failing to meet expectation. Rather, expectation itself is the shift. Whether by design or not, there has been a noticeable paradigm that has set the parameters of usable framework within an author's outline to tell a story they themselves may not be as passionate about. What does that mean? Well, the EU, the expanded universe, was just that, a universal alignment of passionate authors that fed off each other in ever expanding circles. These are the circles that crafted the likes of Darth Bane and Darth Scabrous, Grand Admiral Thrawn, Revan, Exar Kun, and two of my personal favorites, Darth Cognis and Yasain Isard. This list could go on forever, but the point is, those creative circles, expanding rapidly at the time, really inspired authors to swing big, dare to chance, and throw those creative nets as far as they could. Mara Jade, anyone? I don't feel that abundant creativity has gone anywhere or perished and left by the wayside, but it's those obvious parameters mentioned earlier. I don't know what they are specifically, but we all know where they come from. In most literary circles, an author pursues agency once they have a completed work, an original manuscript they've put their heart and soul into. With that step, the author can only pray that the receiving agency or agencies feels the same passion and excitement the author had. Such is not the case with modern Star Wars literature. Comment down below if I am wrong about that, but that is my understanding. There's the parameter shift. Under Disney, within the confines of my understanding, they formulate the story to be told, then actively seek the author to tell it. Removing any bias on my part, mind you, this parameter shift is obvious to any fan who has invested time navigating the hundreds of titles within Star Wars literature. The shift thrusts any author into a conformity that stresses and hinders the creativity they would normally employ telling a story on their own. Don't believe any of this? I didn't either until I truly stepped back to assess the stories themselves, individually, over the last 5 years. There are some notable exceptions, and you can judge them for yourself, but in my opinion, tossing the EU has done a great deal of harm to overall storytelling. But I digress, you didn't come here for a rant after all. I'm going to begin with the Darth Bane trilogy, Drew Karpyshyn's masterful works that gave us the iconic Rule of Two. I realize there are a great deal of works that chronologically predate Darth Bane, such as Revan or Vitiate, but for the sake of this playlist, created to offer chronological context to episodes 1 through 6, Bane's tale is the logical first step. This won't be the only list by any means, so stay tuned for future progress as we navigate the Star Wars novels together. In some ways, this is kind of a response video to Dash's a few days ago. When he posed the question, Star Wars really sucks without the EU. Well, I think it kind of does. And in case you missed it, click on the link right here.